Hey there and welcome. You know that feeling? You've had a packed day, you did a million things, and then someone asks, "So, how was your day?" And your brain just kind of defaults to, "Good?" Yeah, we've all been there. Well, today we are going to completely change that. We're going to dive deep and figure out how to really tell the story of your day in English, from that first alarm buzz all the way to when your head hits the pillow. I mean, really think about it for a second. That sound of the alarm clock in the morning, that's not just some annoying noise. It's basically the opening line of a brand new chapter. Every single day, from the moment our eyes pop open, we're living out this story, one that's filled with all our little habits, our routines, and those one-off moments that make up a life. So, the big question is, how do you share your daily story in English? Well, stick with me because over the next few minutes, we are going to unpack all the key words and the simple, I promise, simple grammar rules you need to talk about your routine with total confidence. All right, it only makes sense to start at the very beginning, right? So let's build our day piece by piece, kicking things off with those first few crucial hours right after we wake up. Okay, first things first, let's get our core vocabulary down. Think of these as the essential building blocks for our morning story. I mean, every single morning, most of us have this kind of mental checklist, don't we? We get up, we eat breakfast, maybe we have a shower, we brush my hair, we get dressed, and maybe we go to school or work. These simple phrases, they are the absolute foundation for talking about our day. So now that we have the what, let's add the when. How do we talk about the time we do these things? It's actually a really simple pattern. The question you'll hear a lot is, what time do you? And the answer almost always starts, I, at. Now, for any time that's exactly on the hour, we use this little phrase, o'clock. So for instance, what time do you get up? I get up at 7 o'clock. See? Super simple. Okay, but let's be real. Life isn't always that predictable, right? You don't do the exact same thing at the exact same time every single day. And this is where our next amazing tool comes into play. Adverbs of frequency. These are just incredible little words that tell us how often we do something. They add so much precision and a really personal touch to our daily story. Now, listen up because this is probably the most important trick for using these adverbs correctly. Where you put them in a sentence is absolutely key to sounding natural. There are basically two simple rules to remember. For most action verbs, words like drinks or walk, the adverb comes right before the verb. So you say, she always drinks tea. But, and this is the important part, for the verb to be, that's words like is, am, are, the adverb comes after it. So you'd say, he is always late. See that little switch? It seems small, but getting that one thing right makes a massive difference in how natural your English sounds. So let's take a look at the whole spectrum, going from most often to least often. At the very top, for something you do 100% of the time, no exceptions, we use always. Just below that, for things you do most of the time, maybe 9 times out of 10, we have usually. Then you've got often or frequently for things that happen a lot. Right in the middle is sometimes, which is like a 50-50 shot. And as we get to things you don't do very much, we use words like rarely or hardly ever, all the way down to never, which is a big, fat 0%. This gives you this fantastic toolkit to be way more precise about your habits. All right, so the morning is covered. Let's move on to the next part of our day and see how we can build on these skills. As we get into the afternoon, our activities start to change, and guess what? So does the way we talk about time. Okay, the morning chapter of our story is officially over. So what happens next? Well, here are some really common actions for the middle of the day. We might eat lunch or we might leave school. Maybe we have to do some shopping or we go back to work. These phrases help us keep the story of our day moving forward. Now, it's time to upgrade how we tell time. O'clock is awesome, but things don't always happen perfectly on the hour. Take a look at that clock on the left. You see how the minute hand is pointing down to the 6? That means it's halfway around the clock. That's 30 minutes past the hour. So we say it's 6:30. Now look at the clock on the right. The minute hand is on the 3. That's 15 minutes past the hour, which is a quarter of an hour. So we say it's a 9:15. So what about telling time before the next hour hits? Look closely at this clock. The big hand is on the 9. That means there are 15 minutes, or a quarter of an hour, until the next hour comes. In this case, it's a quarter of an hour until it's 1 o'clock. So we say it's a quarter to 1. This is a super, super common and natural way to talk about time. So, are you ready? Let's put all those little pieces together.
Just check this out. We are combining everything we've learned so far. We've got our adverb, sometimes. We have our afternoon action, eat a sandwich for lunch. And we have a specific time, at 1 o'clock. And look at that. We've just built a fantastic, detailed, natural-sounding sentence about a daily routine.
As evening starts to roll in, our story is reaching its final act. And this is where we can really start to show off our skills by combining everything we've learned to paint a really full picture of how our day comes to a close. Now for the evening, which is usually when we're winding down at home. So what happens? Well, we might cook dinner, and then we have to wash up all the dishes from the meal. Maybe we do the laundry, or maybe we just crash on the sofa and watch TV. And then finally, at the very end of it all, we go to bed. And here it is. This is a perfect example of what a complete, complex, and detailed sentence looks like. It starts with the time, at about 11 o'clock. It's got our adverb in there, usually, and it has our evening routine, go to bed. But it also has some extra personal detail, after we catch up on our day. This right here is the kind of natural, descriptive sentence you are now totally ready to create yourself. And hey, let's not forget, describing your routine also means talking about the things you don't do very often. Using adverbs like rarely or never is just as important as using always. It tells people what is not a typical part of your day, and that is a really crucial part of your story too. Okay, so let's just take a step back and look at everything we've gathered. You now have all the essential tools in your toolbox. You've got the vocabulary for actions all through the day. You've got different, more detailed ways to talk about time. And you have a whole range of adverbs to show exactly how often you do things. Now it's your turn to tell your own story. If you're ever stuck, just come back to this simple 4-step recipe for building your own sentences. Step 1, who are we talking about? Let's say I. Step 2, how often? Let's go with often. Step 3, what's the action? Watch. And step 4, finish the thought. TV. Put it all together and what do you get? I often watch TV. Simple, clear, and absolutely perfect. You know, this reminds me of a famous quote that says, "Our lives leave footprints on the sands of time." And in a funny way, that's exactly what we've been talking about. Every one of those small daily routines, making your breakfast, going to school, watching TV, it's like a small footprint. And when you describe them, you're not just talking about your day. You're sharing the story of your life, one day at a time. So, I'll leave you with this question. With all these new tools in your pocket, how are you going to tell the story of your day? How will you describe your own unique footprints? Give it a try. Thanks so much for watching.
You are doing great. Don't stop. Subscribe and watch the next video.